geriatrician, and I just want to tell you why I think exercise is one of the most important strategies for older people. I think that it's almost scandalous that our health system has not built exercise into the treatment programs for almost all conditions that older people experience. If exercise was packaged as a pill, it would be the most prescribed medication in our pharmacopoeia. Exercise helps the brain and the body. It helps prevent diabetes in people who've got impaired glucose tolerance. It helps to minimise the effect of type 2 diabetes. It helps with the management of high blood pressure, with heart disease, with respiratory disease, with people undergoing treatment for cancer. It's a major strategy for the prevention of falls and the prevention of what we call sarcopenia, which is one of the major causes of loss of independence in older age and premature aged care placement. But it's also particularly important in the management and prevention of depression and in the management and prevention of brain deterioration to dementia. At this particular time, with people even more isolated than they normally are, exercise is one of the most important modalities to preserve mental health. I think even without COVID, there's an awful lot of social isolation in the older community, which we know contributes to loneliness and depression. But in COVID times, this is aggravated by the anxiety that COVID induces. And at these times, we need all the assistance we can get to look after our mental health. And daily exercise, I think, is probably one of the most important strategies. It's safe to go out into the community and walk, wearing a mask in case you have to pass somebody on the footpath, but also try and do some resistant exercise with light weights or whatever other options you have, and some balance exercise. And that combination is, say, doing about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour of aerobic balance and resistant exercises is a wonderful way to preserve your mental health in these COVID times. And the other important thing to say, I think, is don't then sit for the rest of the day watching Netflix or reading a book or knitting or doing something else. Every hour, get up and do something, and perhaps a couple other times during the day, do some vigorous walking around the block or even around the garden, and that'll do wonders for your mental health. It'll help you sleep, it'll improve your appetite, and certainly your social relations. The other thing that is happening in these COVID times is people are less inclined to go to their GP and have a regular checkup or even just look after the chronic conditions they've got. And so it's very easy to allow some of these conditions to slip, to allow, say, not as good control of your blood pressure or your lipids or your weight or your diabetes. And exercise is a valuable way to prevent that happening and to avoid looking for perhaps things like night sedatives or anxiety relieving medication that's so easy to do. Exercise, flexibility type exercise is also a good way to avoid those little muscle aches and pains that tend to occur at times when of relative inactivity, which I suspect a lot of people are experiencing at the moment during COVID. The other things that older people need to be doing at the moment is not letting their social relations drift. Pick up the phone a couple of times a day and ring somebody, a friend, family, have Zoom meetings or Skype meetings with your family. Make sure that your social relations are continued. And now we can meet in a park with up to 5 people as long as you're vaccinated. So find a friend and say, let's go and get a coffee and take it down to the park and have a talk. Because keeping up the sort of social relations, and also keep up your habits as well, whatever your little hobbies are, whether it's gardening or whether it's knitting or Sudoku or do-it-yourself stuff. Keep those things up. Make sure you keep yourself mentally active and physically active. Don't succumb to the business of just watching Netflix or some other mindless television, which is so seductive. This issue of physical activity for older people is so important that we've got to really reinvigorate the exercise programs that perhaps we used to have some years ago. And 10 years ago, there were programs run by Heart Moves. We also had one run by the local health authority called Active Over 50. These are sort of gradually dissipated over the years, and I'm not entirely sure why. So what we're doing here in the Hunter is we've developed a consortium that involves the local people from chronic diseases within our local health district, primary care, primary healthcare network, COTA, the fitness industry, and we're going to reinvigorate a comprehensive program of exercise that goes right through from frail people, perhaps in day centres and nursing homes, through normal generic physical activity that most older people could do, right up to specific programs designed for people with particular conditions like osteoporosis, arthritis, sarcopenia, type 2 diabetes, depression, etc. And hopefully we'll be able to do this with very little money, cover our health district with programs that are of such quality that health professionals will be happy to refer people to. And if that works, we'd like then to see it rolled out throughout the state and perhaps even throughout the country.